शांति शांति। शृण्वन्तु सर्वे अमृतस्य पुत्राः आये धामानि दिव्यानि तस्थुः वेदाहमेतं पुरुषं महान्तं आदित्यवर्णं तमसः परस्तात्. That tamasah parastat. It is not the Aditya Varnam is not brilliant like the sun. It is the real brilliance, the revealer. The sun also has to be revealed by that consciousness. So he had discovered that revealer. That is why he is calling everybody. And here he is telling his disciples, the seekers, the enquirers, that let there be Mangala, let there not be any hindrance on your path to cross over this darkness, the world of ignorance, and get to that luminescence, the ultimate enlightenment. What is the example, illustration he has used? Araiva rathanabhau samhata yatra nadyaha. We have the nadis in us, in our body. In Kathopanishad they have said 101 nadis. Actually, it may not be exactly 101. What they meant there is 100 plus 1, because one particular nadi which takes them to the modhna, liberation, that is taken as 1, and all others are 100, like that. Here they have not given any number or anything, but he is thinking of a wheel, the Ratha Chakra, the wheel of a chariot, where the spokes, all the spokes are fitted to the hub at the central point. All the spokes are going to the circumference. You can take it to any distance. It can go to any level, any extent. But all of them have to start from the center. Not only that, they are really supported at the center. That is the hub. Like that, in our personality also, this truth that I is the hub. The consciousness is the hub. Where all these nadis, we can say they are the nerves. They are bringing in all the nerve signals. All our impressions, everything are coming through them. Even whatever we are thinking, whatever we are analyzing with the intelligence also, according to this, it may not be the exact physical nadi we know from the medicine, but it is an imaginary nadi. Even the thoughts, etc., they are also woven in that consciousness, as they have just now said in the previous verse. Sa eshaha antascharate bahudha jayamanaha. Where they are all fixed, that is actually expressing itself as bahudha jayamanaha. I will explain it. It is a very deep statement. We have to go deep into it. See, whatever experiences we are having, suppose vision we are having, up to the retina it is light. Lights are coming and falling on the retina. Behind the retina, what is it? Is it not nerve, electrical impulses passing through the nerve? And that is reaching the brain. In the brain also, the visual cortex is being excited. There it is all electrochemical or so, whatever it is electrical signals they are. So what happened to the external vision, that whatever we are seeing the whole world, we are seeing human beings, we are seeing this, that, all. Just behind the retina it is all only electrical pulses, nothing else. Through the nerves they are become only just electrical pulses. Like that, if you are having the touch sensation, smell sensation, tongue, the taste sensation, everything, whatever we are sensing through our sense organs, they are all electrical pulses only. There itself the world has got negated. Negated means it is not as we are seeing. It is not as we are smelling. It's not as we are touching. Everything is boiled down to only electrical signals reaching the brain and exciting some electrical signals over there. Even in the brain also, there is nothing. The whole jugglery is taking place in the mind, in the consciousness. You may say that, oh, when I saw this, the brain signal was like this. You can identify with that. You can measure the brain signal and you can say, nowadays they have done some experiment where they say the God realization also, a certain portion of the brain is excited. God realization means some vision of God or whatever experiences we have spiritually in meditation, etc. Definitely any experience we have, the seat of experience is the body. There cannot be any experience where the seat of experience is not the body. Everywhere. We may feel a bodilessness. Some experiences are there in meditation which you feel that you don't have any body, that bodiless experiences are there. But that also will have a seat in the brain. If scientists do the experiment today, I am sure they will be able to one day find out that the bodiless experience also correspond to some excitation in the brain. The body can generate the experience of body and experience of no body also. So the seat of experience in the brain is in the brain. But you cannot say that signal is the, say you are seeing the mountain, Himalayas. Now you will not find the Himalayas in the brain signal. You have to relate it to that what the person is saying, that I am seeing Himalaya, and the signal corresponding which is excited in the brain, that's an electrical signal. The whole jugglery of the vision is finally taking place in the mind. It's all appearing in the consciousness. So it is the consciousness which is manifesting in Bahudha Jayamanaha. This is the meaning here. Esho Antascharate Bahudha Jayamanaha. Every moment my world is manifesting in me, in the consciousness as my world. It is the whole experience is there. The whole manifestation is there. That is what they are saying. Sa eshaha antascharate bahudha jayamanaha. Now, what are we to do? Then it is only the consciousness that we have to know. The whole world, the concept of big, small, the concept of subtle and gross, the concept of God and no God, everything is there in that consciousness. So we have to somehow get to know what is that. That is why they said, Om iti evam dhyayatha atmanam. Evam dhyayatha atmanam. Om iti evam dhyayatha atmanam. Now before that, the two shlokas, point 3 and point 4, they have said how to meditate on this truth, taking the help of Om. Representing this, that Om is representing this Brahma Vidya, Om is representing Brahman, Om is representing this ultimate truth. Now you concentrate, you meditate on that Om is what they are saying. Om iti evam dhyayatha atmanam. You do that meditation. Swastiva paraya tamasah parastat. May there be no vigna, there be no hindrance on your way towards this enlightenment. May you cross this ocean of ignorance. With that, he ends here. We will take it up again with some Mandukya Upanishad shlokas. Now, up to this is we have done 3, 4, 5, 6. This I said is the sadhana, particularly the sadhana which is depending on, it is called Om Upasana, or taking Om as the alambana or refuge, that you take Om, the sound of Om, and finally the concept of Om, the concept of Brahman. The Om represents both Kshara and Akshara Brahma. So taking that as your refuge, as your support, you do the sadhana. So it ends with the dhyana on Om. Now, what is that Om? What is it representing really? For that we will again go to Mandukya Upanishad, which is an exposition on Om. He has already said that this Om is the Atma, Om is the Brahman, and everything is included, everything in the universe, external, internal, and whatever is transcendental, beyond time, space, everything is included in that Om. This 7th verse of Mandukya Upanishad is extremely important. That is often quoted in many places also. It's very important verse which tries to give an idea of the transcendental reality, the Atma. So it is generally through negation of all the concepts we may have about Atma. We may form various concepts when it is explained that this is consciousness, this is this, this is that. We may form some concept about it. So to correct that, he is saying not this, not that, like that. So whatever is not, we have to understand. When everything is left, whatever is not, then whatever remains is the truth. That is the idea. In other verses also you will find yan neti neti vachanair nigama avochuhu. That about this truth, the nigamas, the shastras, they speak with the words neti neti means na iti. If it is iti, if it is something, then it becomes an object. It is a concept. It is an object for our knowledge, for the revealer, for the consciousness. So only neti 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 means not this, not this, not this. Then whatever is left, that is the truth. So here he says, Nanta prajnam na bahish prajnam no bhayata prajnam na prajnana ghanam na prajnam na prajnam adrishtam avyavaharyam agrahyam alakshanam achintyam avyapadeshyam ekatma pratyayasaram prapanchopashamam shantam shivamadvaitam chaturtham manyante sa atma sa vidnyeyaha. I will read it with breaking small portions. Nanta prajnam na bahish prajnam.
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 That means antah prajnam means the consciousness inside, and bahish prajnam means the consciousness outside. Nanta prajnam na bahish prajnam.
Nanta prajnam na bahish prajnam.
No bhayata prajnam.
No bhayata prajnam.
Na prajnana ghanam.
Na prajnana ghanam.
Na prajnam na prajnam.
Na prajnam na prajnam.
See, he is negating all kinds of consciousness we may think of. The conscious of the internal things, conscious of the external things. I am conscious of both together, external as well as the internal. All these are happening with the reflection of the consciousness we have. I will explain it further with illustration. Na prajnana ghanam, as in Sushupti, it appears like it is nothing else. It is prajnana ghana. There is nothing. No object is seen. It is not fragmented. In Sushupti, whatever we perceive, it is shunya, you may say. It is not fragmented. Both in dream and wakefulness, the appearance is fragmented. Na prajnam, na aprajnam. It is not simple consciousness and not even unconsciousness also, because we are negating everything. One may think, then is it aprajnam? No, it is not that even. Adrishtam, it is not seen, it cannot be seen. Avyavaharyam, it cannot be tackled or handled, it cannot be interacted with any of our karmendriya or anything. Agrahyam, it cannot be grasped also. That means it is not different from me. To grasp something, to see something, to interact with something, you need a second. It is not having that second. Alakshanam, lakshana means insignia. You cannot point it out by any insignia, saying that even Satchidananda. Satchidananda we say as a close approximation. Truly speaking, that also does not represent the truth. There, Sat, Chit, Ananda, it means Sat means it is not non-existence. Because the moment we say Sat means existence, we are thinking of the objective existence like the universe. It is not so. Actually, Sat means it is not Asat. Chit means it is not Jada. That whatever the consciousness is revealing is Jada. But when we say Chit, we are thinking of the fragmented consciousness which is encapsulated by our body. It is not that Chit, the consciousness we are thinking about. Ananda. Ananda means it is not Nirananda, it is not Dukkha, Shoka, it is not Shoka. That means it is not that Ananda means always you are blissful. It is not like that. It is the absence of Dukkha, absence of Shoka. It is from the second all our troubles come. When there is no second, there is no trouble at all. As I was saying from Brihadaranyaka. So, Alakshana, Satchidananda, so it is actually only a hint given towards the truth. Alakshanam, Achintyam, it cannot be thought about. The moment you think about it, it becomes a concept. So it is again revealed, the concept is revealed by our consciousness. It becomes an object for our consciousness. That is how we say that a God believer or a non-believer in God, both have to be transcended to take to spirituality. Because a God believer, he believes in his concept of God. And a non-believer, he believes in his concept of no God. That no God is also a concept. He does not believe in God, we say, but actually he believes in the concept of no God. So both who is having the belief and who is having the non-belief, that subject is our point. Whether he is a believer or non-believer does not matter. It is he who is believing and he who is non-believing, that we have to identify. So, achintyam, it cannot be thought about. It is not within our thoughts, it is not within our concept. Avyapadeshyam, you cannot point it out anywhere as this is here, this is here. Ekatma pratyaya saram. It is the essence of the pratyaya of Ek Atma, that one soul, Atma. What is that Atma? Atma is Aham Pratyaya Gochara. Atma is defined in our Shastras as Aham Pratyaya Gochara. Why they are saying Aham Pratyaya Gochara means that which is known by the conviction that I am, that amness. Now why are they saying Pratyaya, conviction? Because as I said just a little back, that it is not a pratyaksha or paroksha which can be disproved or anything. It's a direct perception, it's a direct conviction that I am, that amness is directly shining within us. Om Bhadram Karnebhish Shrunuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraha Sthirairangaistushtuvam sastanubhih Vyashema devahitam yadayuhu Swasti na indro vriddhashavaha Swasti na pusha vishvavedaha Swasti na starkshyo arishtanemihi Swasti no Brihaspatir dadhatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
So as I told you that these 6 verses, up to the 6th, there is 4 verses, 3, 4, 5th and 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th. They are directly instructing us a sadhana. So that is why we are giving a lot more importance to it, because finally we have to do. Now here they have clearly mentioned Om ityevam dhyayatha atmanam. Dhyayatha. He has mentioned dhyayatha. That is, it is an instruction given to the seekers, to the disciples, that you meditate on your Atma with the alambana, with the support of Om. Om iti evam. Considering Om to be the representative of the Atma, as a symbol of Atma, you do your meditation. Dhyayatha. It is direct instruction given to us. Now here we would like to discuss a little in a little detail because there are a lot of misconceptions are there. This dhyana with Omkara, it can be of two kinds. One, for the knowledge practitioners, those who are pursuing the jnana, that is what we are doing in Upanishadic studies also. And the other one is those who are practicing according to the tantra or yoga or upasana, the meditation as such. They are not doing the vichara of the truth. So even for this second category also, where we are using the Om as an alambana, as a support, as a refuge for practicing our meditation and reaching the Atma Sakshatkara, there also this Om is a great mantra. It is called Bija mantra. Actually, any mantra given by the Guru which has the power, it is called Bija mantra. Why it is called Bija? Bija means seed. Suppose a peepal tree, it is so huge a tree, but the whole tree is in a potential form in the small seed. The peepal tree, the seeds are extremely small, much smaller than the beans and other things. But in that extremely small seed, when it grows into a Mahiruha, it grows into a huge tree which lives for 1,000 or more years, sometimes hundreds of years. Now the whole tree is potentially there. Like that, when the mantra is given, be it Om or be it any other Bija mantra or any other powerful mantra given by the Guru, when the mantra is given, as I explained earlier also, we don't understand the power contained in the mantra. We consider just like a seed it is given to us. And as we go on doing our sadhana, slowly that seed goes on growing into a huge tree. Finally, when it becomes a tree, then only we come to know what its dimension is, how it is, how big it is, what is its great dimension. So, that is what we said, that in the two verses of Kathopanishad I discussed. One is that etadhyevaksharam brahma, etadhyevaksharam param, etadhyevaksharam jnatva, yo yadichyati tasyatad. Etad alambanam shreshtham, etad alambanam param, etad alambanam jnatva, brahmaloke mahiyate. He is saying that they are talking about the Om. He is saying this Om Akshara, it is best and it is the supreme refuge for us. That is, once we take refuge in it. Suppose Guru has given a mantra. When we take refuge in the Guru mantra, we should consider it to be the supreme refuge. Then we should not run to anywhere else for anything in the world. Whatever we need, it will come from that Shakti. That is the surrender called for in any serious seeker. It's extremely important. It is not to become thoughtless or meditation. Your mantra is given, but chanting the mantra, either loudly or not loudly, we try to get into a meditative state or thoughtless state. These are not the ultimate goal at all. The ultimate goal is to realize our real identity. And for that, we have to completely surrender ourselves to the mantra Shakti or Guru Shakti given to us. That let it take me to anywhere, wherever it likes. Because my final goal is the auspicious goal, which I myself do not know what is my goal. It is only known to the Guru who is guiding me. He has given the mantra for that. And our purpose is to completely allow the mantra to work in us. See, these are secrets of sadhana. That when the mantra, if it is a powerful mantra given by a Sadguru, when the mantra we do the chanting, then it transforms our being. That is called Sattvika Vikara. Vikara means modification. By chanting the Guru mantra, our being undergoes a complete transformation in a slow, steady process or sometimes fast process, depends on the seeker. Now, as we chant, that mantra works on our body. In Upanishad, there is another example also. Consider our being, our body, mind, intelligence complex to be the Adhararani. Adhararani means in Yajna, they use for lighting fire, they use two pieces of wood. there is a lower wood on which the upper wood is rubbed, so that the fire comes out. That is how they light the fire, and with that fire they light the Jajjakunda, the Homakunda. So this considered the Adhararani to be our being, our mind, intelligence, body complex. And Uttararani is our sadhana. You can consider it to be the Om or the mantra we are doing. With that we have to rub the Adhararani, and by that the fire of consciousness that is within us, which is not visible generally, which is hiding within, that will blaze forth.